안녕하세요, 여러분. 저는 여러분의 한국어 친구 나탈리아입니다. Okay, so a while back on Instagram, I asked you guys to send me some questions so I could answer them for a Q&A. So obviously that's what we're gonna do today. Hello. So the first question that I got was from Nocturnal Soul. You asked me what my study plans and goals are for this year. In terms of like my goals, like language goals, I would like to become, this is the first time I'm telling you guys this, but I would really like to be upper beginner in Japanese by the end of October. And that's because the Polyglot Conference is being held in Fukuoka, Japan this October, so I'm hoping that I can go. Nothing is set in stone, but like I can't go to Japan and not know Japanese, because in high school all I wanted was to go study abroad in Japan. I was studying Japanese because I wanted to be fluent in Japanese and go to Japan, and you see where I'm going with this. So it was like my 15, 14, 13, 8th grade your old self would slap my current self if I go to Japan without knowing Japanese. You see, do you see this connection here? So yeah, so that's why I'm really starting to focus on Japanese. So yes, in terms of Korean, which is like my main language, I'm just gonna my goal is to just keep improving slowly. No crazy, I want to do this year, I want to do that this year, because I don't know what this year is gonna look like. This is the first time where I'm working like a 9 to 5, which isn't even 9 to 5 because I work more hours than that. But yes, so I have to adjust before I can figure out what my goals for Korean will be. Moving on to the next question. Also, Nocturnal Soul, I'm sorry that we couldn't meet in Korea. Sorry. Anyway, moving on to Bailey's question. You asked, what was your favorite part about visiting Korea? So if you didn't know, I was in Korea this past January with my cousin for a 3-week like graduation trip kind of thing. My favorite part was definitely like seeing all my friends. So I studied there in 2016 for a year, so I made a lot of friends, formed a lot of like strong relationships with people. And I liked that when I was there, right, every day I was hanging out with like a different friend, with like the exception of a few days when I was with anyway, but like every day I was seeing like a friend and hanging out with a friend. Like there was an exception of I think 2 days where Jasmine and I didn't meet one of my friends. Like it was just great to see them and for us to pick up where we left off, even though it had been 2 years. And everyone was like the same. I only had one friend who was different than I had remembered him, and it was just like he had like become more mature. So when I saw him, I was like, oh yes, I was expecting him to be like crazy and like a goofball like he usually is, or like he was. And then he was so chill. He was like, nah, I'm not like that anymore. And I was like, what do you mean you're not like that anymore? But yeah, he just like matured, but he was still like him. He proved to me that he's still himself. I'm gonna give you my second favorite thing, which I know you didn't ask for, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway, Bailey. My second favorite thing was getting to speak Korean. Honestly, like I was like so excited to be like, 안녕하세요, 안녕하세요. Like, okay, obviously you don't wave at people in Korea like I do here, but like, you know, it's because I improved so much since when I was living there that I just wanted to speak. All I wanted to do was speak. Because when I was there, although I would speak and I could speak, I didn't do it very often because I was just so shy about it and like not super confident, I guess. Like for example, my church friends, I remember when I would meet with them, they don't speak English. Like I would sit there at dinner with them and be like nodding, be like, I don't know what's happening, but yes, I agree. Yeah, what? Like I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna sit here. But now, like this time, I was able to really like converse. Like I actually knew what they were saying to me. Like I'm in a conversation with all these Koreans and I actually know what's happening. Like it was amazing. So yeah, that was my second favorite thing. Just being able to like speak Korean and be like, hello, hi, hi. So moving on to the next question. It's from Kitty Cat Studies, which you asked about how much money did it take to travel around and stay in Korea for 3 weeks. I have not actually calculated everything, and I'm gonna make a financial video about how I saved for Korea and how much it costs for you guys, because you guys have asked about it a lot. But just off the top of my head, I want to say my trip was between $3,500 and $4,000. $4,000 being like the very like which I don't think it was that much, but it was definitely somewhere in that range. Thinking of how much money I took with me to Korea after paying off my plane ticket and after paying for all my accommodations, I took, I want to say about $2,500 as like spending money for food, shopping, transportation, like to buy bus tickets and taxis and things like that. So anything like I couldn't pay for ahead of time, I used that $2,500 for. So overall, I think it was a pretty cheap trip considering I was there for 3 weeks, but I do need to mention that there was a week where I was staying with my friends, so either I was staying at their apartment or with their family. Also, I was traveling with someone, so the nights that I wasn't at a friend's house or Jaslyn and I weren't at a friend's house, we were at an Airbnb, so we were splitting that cost. And then in Seoul, which was the most expensive Airbnb, might I add, it wasn't just me and Jaslyn, it was my friend Karina as well. So it was like an Airbnb that we split 3 ways, so it made everything super affordable. Also, I got a cheaper plane ticket because I wanted a cheaper plane ticket, so my layovers were crazy long, but my flight was only $714 round trip from Houston, Texas. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I feel like I ranted a little bit, but I wanted to share that information. So moving on, we have a question from Zoe_300-418. What were you most afraid of when you first traveled to Korea? I'm gonna assume you're talking about like 2016. Like I assume you're talking about the very first time I went, like ever. So at that time I was 20. So I was 20 years old, going to Korea, sophomore in college. I had only been studying Korean for 2 months. And the thing I was most afraid of was not being able to communicate with the Korean students at my host university. That's honestly one of the main reasons that I started learning Korean before going, because I wanted to be able to interact and make the most out of my study abroad. So I felt like if I can't communicate with the locals, if I can't have Korean friends, like why am I going? You know what I mean? I feel like it's harder to learn about a new culture when you don't speak the local language, and I wanted to get the most out of this opportunity. Like, when is the next time I'm gonna be able to be a student in a foreign country? Probably never, ever, unless I go get a master's in a foreign country or something. The next question we have is from I'm gonna say he because I don't know how to say your name, but you asked, do you think it's better to learn a language with a native speaker, or it's not that essential as a beginner? So obviously having a native like help you, or like whether they're like a tutor or like a teacher or just somebody you talk to, obviously like that's gonna help you. But in my personal opinion and in my experience, I don't think it's essential. Like, yes, it'll help you. Is it needed? No. Like during my first 2 months of Korean study, I learned enough Korean to skip a whole year's worth of Korean courses at my host university. Like a whole year's worth in 2 months. And I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have a tutor. I used Hello Talk to talk to natives, but honestly, if they're not a tutor or a teacher, they're kind of not good at explaining things most of the time. So when you ask them, is this right? They can tell you if it's right or if it's wrong, and they can tell you what the sentence should be or what the grammar should be, but they can't really tell you why. So there's like, they're helpful, but like, yeah. Everything I did was self-study with a textbook and YouTube. Honestly, just go with YouTube. Just get on there. If you need to hear like the pronunciation of something, you can go to the like Naver dictionary and look it up, or you can look for a YouTube lesson taught by like a Korean person if that's something that you're super concerned about, is like the pronunciation. So yeah, like you can do it for free. Like, moving on to the next question, we have one from Victoria. Hey! So Victoria asked, what are you doing career-wise now that you graduated? So Victoria is a YouTuber, and I will link her down below. She does like travel vlogs and like all kinds of content. But we met at school because we went to the same school, and we met at like a content creator kind of club. But anyway, so in terms of my career, so I graduated with a supply chain management degree, and that's what I'm doing right now. So my full-time job is related to my major, thank goodness. So I am a buyer. I'm not gonna tell you what company or exactly what I'm buying. If I try to make an example, a made up hypothetical example, basically I buy parts for our product that we later send to customers. If I worked at a bakery and we sell apple pie, banana bread, and coffee, I don't know, coffee cake or something, I don't know, then I'm the one that's in charge of making sure there's always enough apples, that there's always enough bananas, and we have enough flour to make a coffee cake. I'm the one that has to look at all our like inventory schedules and our planning schedules and demand and things and determine, okay, how many bananas do I need to buy this week and next month and whatever, based on our demand and our forecasts and everything. So basically I spend money. So moving on. So we have one from Yeriana Grande. I hope I said that right. But you asked, what's your favorite girl group? So, I'm so sad. So for a long time, my favorite girl group was Girls' Day. Like, na 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 something. I don't know the lyrics because at that time I wasn't studying Korean, but I love this so much. But they haven't had a comeback since like early 2017, so it's been literally 2 years. So the next question is from Bella Fiery. I'm assuming it's fiery, very fire. Yeah, anyway, I remember you're good at Japanese. That's what I remember. Okay, anyway, you asked what's on your bucket list. So I assume you mean in my general life, not something that's like, considering at the time I had just come back from Korea, so I hope you don't mean what's like on my Korea bucket list, but yeah. So in my life, the main thing I want to accomplish is being bilingual. And it doesn't really matter like what language, I just really want to be bilingual. I think bilingual people are so cool. But yeah, so right now it looks like if I'm bilingual in any language, it's gonna be Korean, just because I've come so far in Korean. Like I feel like I could easily live my life in Korean, like where I am now. Like obviously I have a lot to learn and like lots of technical things that I would have to learn, like technical words and stuff, and get better at speaking. But like I've come so far to where I feel like I just have to keep going like gradually, and I'll get there. Like I'll get there eventually. So we have a question from Julia's asking, how do you improve your speaking abilities apart from talking with native speakers? So actually, in my personal experience, I have not gotten better at speaking by speaking with natives. That sounds really weird. I feel like a lot of people say like, oh, you have to go out and like talk to all these native speakers and you'll get really good at speaking, which is, I'm sure that's true, but in my experience, you don't have to be speaking with native speakers, because honestly, most of the time a native speaker is not going to correct you, even if you mess up. Even if you mess up 5 times, they're not going to tell you. So it's not that different from just talking to yourself. For me personally, in order to get better at speaking, I just talk to myself. Like, I've told you guys this before, and I'm gonna say it again because honestly, like, this is the secret sauce to my speaking skills, okay? I literally will be driving in my car, you know, by myself, and I will be, I don't know, I'll have a random thought and I will say it in Korean, and then I'll keep saying it in Korean until I can say it at a normal speed. I will do things like that, and like that's just how I practice my speaking. I'll just keep saying sentences over and over again until they're the right speed. Or so I'll have to figure out, okay, if I want to say this, how do I say it without knowing this particular word or without knowing this word over here. So it really made me use my critical thinking skills to problem solve this stuff, so I can make sure I can express myself with the vocabulary that I have. The other thing that I do a lot is like when I watch dramas, I will repeat whatever they said. Even if I don't know a word, like I'll be like Korean, blah, 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 Korean, because I didn't know like that one word, right? Or like I don't even know how to pronounce it, but I'll like just skip the word. But I'll say like all the words that I know, and I will do the same like intonation as like the actress or whoever I'm copying. They'll be like "밥 먹을래?" and I'll be like "밥 먹을래?" Like I'll do the same thing as they do, just so I can like get the intonation right and like practice like the speed. Okay, I hope that you got some value out of that, because I think I just ranted. Yulia, you also asked what are some good places to shop and eat in Korea. I'm gonna start off with eating because it's the easiest. Honestly, you can go anywhere. Everywhere is delicious. Everywhere is good. Most definitely Hongdae. Hongdae has amazing food. Basically any major area. Literally, you can walk down the street as soon as you come out of like some random subway stop and you're gonna find amazing food. In terms of shopping, if I'm just thinking of Seoul, because that's where most people go, Hongdae is my number one. I love Hongdae. Like, so you can do like, you can go to the Kakao Talk friends store, you can go to the Line store and buy BTS merch. Yes, he's been sitting in my lap this whole time. You can like go like buy clothes, you can like buy cute little earrings. Like there is this shop, oh my gosh, you guys will see it in one of my vlogs, but like there's this shop and they have so many, it's like walls and walls of earrings. Like I got these. Did I get these there? No, okay, I didn't get these there. I got these in Hongdae, but not from that shop. But anyway, I bought a ton of earrings from that place. It was just you guys will see it. Another place that I recommend would be Myeongdong. So Myeongdong's like a popular tourist place. You guys have probably heard about it, but there's so much shopping, like literally, oh my goodness. So I remember when I went in 2016, I didn't like Myeongdong that much. I thought it was overrated. The time when we went, I loved it. There was so much, and like there's a lot of shops that like repeat themselves. So Etude House, for example, it's a popular like cosmetic store if you're not familiar, and they'll have like 3 locations within that one shopping area, but like they're all like different sizes, so some of them have different stuff and things like that, but definitely go there. And then the last place that I would like to recommend is Gangnam. So Gangnam's like the expensive area, but you can do shopping in this subway, like in the actual, like once you get off the subway, there's like a shopping center in the station, so like you don't even have to leave the station. It's ginormous. Like there's so many like just like shops in general. Like there's clothes, there's shoes, you could buy a cell phone if you wanted to. I assume there's a K-pop store. I don't remember seeing one, but like in Myeongdong, okay, in Myeongdong there's also like a shopping plaza inside the subway station, and there's like 3 or 4 K-pop shops there. Like if that's something you're into, I assume that's something you're into. But yeah, just go to those 3 places. You're gonna spend more money than you wanted to, just literally just by going to those places. So the next question is from Alia. I don't know, I'm gonna go with Spanish. I'm gonna assume your name is Alia. Okay. But you asked, will you be sharing the addresses to some of the locations you went in Korea? By locations, I mean like the BT21 statues and the Harry Potter place. Yes. So I know when you asked this question, I hadn't started releasing the vlogs, but yes. So I always try to look for all the addresses to all the places we went, or at least like the big places that we went. So if I can't find it, obviously I'm not gonna put it in there, but you do not have to worry about the BTS statues. They will be in the description box when that vlog comes out, if it hasn't already. And the Harry Potter cafe will also be in the description box. But just so you guys are aware, both of those are in Hongdae. Literally the BTS statues, the ones that I'm assuming you're talking about, are in the Line Friend store in Hongdae. Come out of exit 1 or walk straight, take a left. Like you can't miss it, it's ginormous. And then the Harry Potter one is a little harder to find, but for sure I will have the addresses of those for you. So the next question you asked was, did you get to go to Jin and his brother's restaurant? Can you tell by my face? Can you tell by my face? So I'm not gonna get into why we couldn't go. You'll see it in the vlog. It's so sad. It's so sad. Oh my god. I wanted to like punch a wall. Like I don't even, yeah, you guys will see it in the vlog if it isn't out yet. I'm sorry, Jin. Okay, moving on. So our next question is from Jin. Okay, anyway, it's from Mur the Fairy. You said, if you could go back and start college in Korea and graduate in Korea, would you? No. So I've thought about this before, and honestly, no. I would not go undergrad in Korea. I don't ever want to live in Korea like forever. Like if I go and move to Korea, which I would love to do, I don't want to like settle down there. So I feel like a degree from a Korean university wouldn't help me that much. Like, okay, like if I lived in Korea for 4 years, I feel like at the end of the 4 years I would want to come back to America and like get a job here, and I feel like it'd be really hard to get a job here because so much of like getting a job in America is like through networking and like knowing people at the company. And if I didn't go to school here, I don't know anyone at the company, I didn't go to American school that can like help me get a job. So yeah, I feel like long term it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be a very good idea. So our next question is from Case Study Time. So you asked, how do you memorize vocab and grammar? So in terms of vocabulary, I have a video where I go step by step through my process and show it to you guys. So I will link you with that video down below. And so we're only gonna talk about the grammar today. But in terms of grammar, I really thought about it and I was like, okay, when I learn grammar, I have my textbook or like my lesson or whatever I'm learning grammar with, right? And I'll only learn a few grammar points like each study session, if I'm even learning any grammar that study section. So don't overwhelm yourself with a ton of grammar points at once. Tip number 1. But when I learn like the grammar, right, I read their explanation, I will do their exercises. If they have exercises, read their example sentences, things like that, right? Typical, do what they tell you to do. And then I will make my own sentences like on my own piece of paper, and I'll be like, okay, for example, if we take like a beginner level like grammar point, 지만 meaning like but, or however, like 예쁘지만 나빠, I don't know, like it's pretty but it's bad, I don't know. I'll be like, okay, let me make my own sentence. What would I say? Like, okay, I'm about to be really BTS. I'll be like, 지민이 잘생기지만 제홉 제일 좋아해요. Meaning like, even though Jimin's attractive, I like J-Hope the most. So I'll usually, all my example sentences are about BTS, usually, because I don't know, don't ask me, I don't know. But so I'll make like sentences where I'll just practice, and it's honestly, you should definitely use like your favorite K-pop idols. It's really funny because you'll make the weirdest sentences about them. Like they're super entertaining, and like you'll have a good time because you're just laughing about how you're the biggest fangirl boy person ever. So I will do that. I'll write a ton of sentences about BTS with my grammar point, and then I'll practice saying them out loud so I can get used to like actually using the grammar point when I'm speaking, you know, because that's a different part of the brain. Writing's a different part of the brain, and speaking's a different part of the brain. So you want to do that. And then usually if I'm talking to someone, so for example, if I'm talking on Hello Talk, or if I'm like talking to my friend, I'll be like, oh, this is a great opportunity to use this grammar point. Like if it comes up in the conversation. For example, if we start talking about whatever, like if we somehow start talking about BTS and how they're coming for another concert, I'll be like, 가고 싶지만 너무 비싸. Like even though I want to go, it's expensive. Like I will find an excuse to use this grammar point, you know, just to use it and be like, literally just to start using it, so it's not something that I learned and then I like left and now I'm doing something else now, forgetting everything that I studied. Like I'm trying to use it throughout the day that I learned it. Now if you're a beginner, obviously like it's harder to like make your own sentences, and it's especially hard to know if they're right. So one of the things that I used to do, and honestly one of the things I still do, is I will go to Hello Talk and I will use the little like, I don't know what they're called, moments, the little like moments tab. It's basically like a giant feed of all the users, and I will just say, hey, can anyone check my sentences for me, please and thank you, basically. And I'll put like 2 or 3 sentences there, and literally native speakers will just go in and they'll correct it, or they'll say like, oh, you were almost right, but it sounds more natural if you write it like this. So like that way I can know if it's right. So if it's not like a simple grammar point, or if I'm learning like a new word, literally I will go there and ask people to check it, and I will have corrections within the next like few minutes, assuming the Koreans are awake. On to the next question. We have Taehi 0224 asking tips for studying in Korea for poor people like me. Laugh, cry, laugh, cry, laugh, cry. Okay, so my study abroad was very highly, I guess you could say, very funded by my Korean university. So I was very fortunate. I know a lot of programs aren't like that, but my personal program that I went on at Sunchunhyangdae was like, it was technically an internship as well. So they paid for half of my airfare. They paid for $500 worth of my airfare, about. They paid for all my housing. So I lived, obviously, like I lived in the dorm that was part of the internship program, but I didn't have to pay for anything. So I had free housing on campus, and then they also gave us a stipend of about $100 a week, almost every week. Like they paid for a lot of it. So that's one of the reasons that I was able to go for like a year. It's just because it was so like affordable because of the university. If you're American, which I am assuming you are, you might not be, but if you are, I was about to say the Korean government, the US government has quite a few scholarships for people that want to learn other languages. One of them is called the critical language scholarship. There's like 13 languages, I believe, that are deemed critical by the US government, meaning they literally want people to go learn these languages. Like I actually had one friend last year, she went through that program to China for 3 months. She went for 3 months. Everything's paid for. The government pay for everything. So basically it's like an intense language program for US citizens if they're wanting to learn one of those languages, or if they already have experience with one of those languages. But again, it's very highly competitive. They do have a program for Korean, so if you're interested, you can check it out. I will put the link for you down below. If you are not American and you want to study in Korea, the Korean government does have like a very popular scholarship, also very competitive. They offer it for undergrad, so for people that want to get their like 4-year undergrad degree in Korea, and then they have it for master's and doctoral students as well. Again, highly competitive. I'll leave for you down below if you want to look at it. For those scholarships, they do pay for tuition, and then they do give you a monthly stipend to help you pay for housing and things like that, but it doesn't cover everything. Moving on, Korean Jessie asks, how long did it take you to speak Korean comfortably? I think I became the most comfortable speaking Korean this year, actually. And I think it's just because I had learned so much, and honestly my friend Kathy really inspired me to just speak. So my friend Kathy, she spent 1.5 years studying in Korea, and when she went, she knew very limited Korean, like limited Korean. Like she spoke, I want to say, she tested into level 2, so she tested into the 2nd semester of beginner's Korean, literally basic Korean, and she came back being amazing. If you guys think I speak well, she speaks better than me, okay? Like amazing, like 1.5 years, amazing. But when she came back from Korea, we had like the same Korean friends, so we're both friends with Surin, we're both friends with Kirin. Obviously we're friends with Hyun. If that vlog is out, I don't even know if it's out, but yeah. And she came back and she was just speaking Korean and not even shy about it, and I was like, I know what she's saying, but I don't want to, like, I don't know, like I couldn't get it out. Like I just, like I was so, yeah, I was like, so every time like I was too embarrassed to speak Korean or something like that, I would just be like, Kathy's not afraid. Look how amazing Kathy is. I was like, Natalia, be more like Kathy. Be more like unafraid. So honestly, I wanna give props to my friend Kathy for like making me like for her being like that example of what I wanted to be, I guess you could say. So after that I was like, girl, just go for it. So I started going for it, and I was like, what the heck? I can have great conversations in Korean. Why wasn't I shy about this? If you've seen some of my vlogs, like if you've seen my, I want to say my 3rd Korea vlog, I speak a lot of Korean in that vlog, and you can see like it comes out like nothing. Like I'm not afraid. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, brrr, Korean, and literally no one judges you. Literally everyone's just like, oh, you speak Korean. So I want to say it took me 2 years. Let's go with 2.5. It took me about 2.5 years. But I think the thing that was holding me back was like my mindset. It wasn't really like studying or like my abilities necessarily. It was just like I was too afraid. The next question is from Izzy. You asked, okay, more of a video suggestion, but I would love to see an apartment tour if you are comfortable with it. So if you guys didn't know, I recently moved. Yep, this is my new apartment. I moved out because I graduated from college and got a job somewhere else. In terms of an apartment tour, I don't think you guys will ever get a full apartment tour. You'll probably get like a bedroom tour if it ends up being like K-pop-y stuff in there, and you'll definitely get a desk tour once like my desk is set up. But in terms of like a full tour, I don't think you guys will probably get that, just simply because I'm one of those people that's super like careful about privacy stuff. So you can think of me as careful or paranoid, it's up to you, but the idea of having like the layout of my home online freaks me out like a lot. So yeah, so thank you for like mentioning like if you're comfortable with it. I really appreciate that. The next question is from Aubrey. So you asked, why did you get into learning so many languages? What caused it, and how did you do you stay motivated? I'm gonna start off with what caused me to want to learn languages, simply because that's at the beginning of the story. I think my first memory of like encountering a language that I realized was a foreign language, because at the time I didn't realize Spanish was a foreign language. Like I thought English and Spanish were the same thing, and it confused me when English speakers didn't know what I was talking about in Spanish. But I want to say it was at 5th grade. Like there was this new student that had come from Korea. This is so funny, it's like fate. She was from Korea, she didn't speak English, and like I just always wanted to talk to her. And she didn't know what I was saying. Literally, she had no clue what I was saying. And so we'd like talk to each other, but we didn't know what each other were saying, like at all. It's kind of, if I think about it, people must have thought it was like a funny sight, because I'd be like, do you know what a fence is? And she'd be like, no. Like, and I'd be like, that's a fence. And she'd be like, fence. Yeah, so just imagine like some 10, 11-year-old girls just being like, fence, tree, talk. Like I could not, like I did not understand why she didn't speak English. Like I didn't understand. Like I would always go up to her and be like, talk, talk. And she'd be like, talk, talk. Like she would legit copy me. And I didn't, like I knew, like at that age, I knew she spoke a foreign language, but like I didn't, like it didn't register what that meant, if that makes sense. But I didn't want to say, like, that's kind of when I was like, oh, interesting. And then the next year in 6th grade, when I was in middle school, I was walking through a book fair with my mom, and I saw like this Chinese book. It was like, learn to speak Chinese or whatever. I don't know, it was something about like the like Chinese characters. I just thought they were like the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And so I started, like I convinced my mom to buy me that book. And I just was like trying to teach myself Chinese. It didn't go very well because I was like 11 or 12, and nobody knows how to learn a language by themselves at the age of 11 or 12 unless you're a genius. I don't know, that kind of like jump started it, I guess. And then the next year I started taking Spanish classes because I had to. High school, I started learning Chinese and Spanish at the same time, and Japanese because I'm crazy. Like I don't know, it was something about the fact that like I could communicate with different people. It was like seeing the world like differently, I guess. Like I would meet the exchange students at my high school that were from Japan. I was meeting people that spoke Chinese. Like I don't know, I was like, I just want to talk to them. Like I want to talk to them. And so that's why I started learning languages. So yeah, so why did you get into learning so many languages? Literally, it's so like it's impacted by the people that I meet. Chinese, honestly, I think that's the only language I started learning simply because I saw the script and was like, I must learn you. Like that's the only one. I started learning Spanish because I'm Mexican and don't speak Spanish, so I was like, gotta learn Spanish because people expect me to. And then Japanese, I got super into anime and was like, I must learn Japanese because I love anime. And then I met a few Japanese people that were like exchange students at my high school, and I was like, nah, I definitely gotta learn Japanese. So I started learning Japanese. It's always like the people. Like Korean, I never wanted to learn Korean. Like I'm gonna be straight up. People always ask me like if I was just like, one day I'll learn Korean. I was like, no. In high school, I literally, like people would ask me, oh, are you gonna start learning Korean because you love K-pop? And I was like, no, why would I learn Korean because I like K-pop? Like, and like some people might be like offended because that is the reason that they're learning K-pop, or learning K-pop, that they're learning Korean. But like for me, like as a 15-year-old who was like obsessed with K-pop, I was like, K-pop is a phase. Like I'm gonna be like, there's gonna be a point where I'm not interested in K-pop anymore, and why should I start learning a language just because I like songs? Like, no. Granted, my K-pop timeline has lasted a lot longer than I thought it was gonna last. I thought I'd like grow out of it after like 3 years, which I didn't. It's been 7 now, almost 8 maybe. Like it's been a long time. The only reason I started learning Korean was because I got accepted to go study abroad in Korea, which I didn't plan on going to Korea either. I planned on going to China because we all know that China is like Chinese is the language that like Chinese is like my first love, if you will. I was planning on going to China, and then last minute I decided not to apply to China, to the program in China, and instead apply to Korea because it was more financially possible, I guess if you will. And like I said earlier, I started learning Korean because I was scared that I wasn't gonna be able to communicate, which freaked me out because I was like, I've been learning all these languages just to communicate with people, and I'm going to a country where I literally know nothing about the language other than like 사랑해요. Like that's not okay. Okay, yeah, I totally just ranted again. But yeah, and then you asked me do I stay motivated? I think I stay usually if I am studying very intensely, it's because I have I have a specific goal. Like I want to take the TOEIC exam, or I want to make sure that I can talk about the fact that I just got a job when I go to Korea, I want to talk about this specific thing, so I'm going to study really hard about this specific thing, or something like that. That's when I study a lot and study really like diligently. Otherwise, like right now, I don't have any like very specific goals other than Japanese, except for Japanese, because I want to learn Japanese if we're going to Japan. But I'm very chill with my language learning. I know it might not seem like that here on my YouTube channel because all my content is about language learning, but like I have not studied a language, whether that be Korean or Japanese or Chinese, anything. I haven't studied anything in like 2 weeks because I've just been working and living my life outside of languages. So have I been speaking Korean? Yes. Have I been tutoring people in Korean? Yes. But I personally have not been like studying. So in terms of motivation, I think it's just making sure that like it fits into my life, I guess, not trying to force it. I'm not trying to force it into my life. So I think that's how I stay motivated. Wow, that was a really bad answer, I feel like. But yeah, it's just trying to make sure that it's not something that I hate. So moving on. So I'm gonna card Art by Inu. You asked me, can you start watching the anime A Promised Neverland? I mean, I don't see why not. Okay, and then that was the last question. Art by Inu, I also read your other comment, which wasn't a you're like, this isn't a question, but I read it, just so you know. Thank you for all your questions. I enjoyed answering them. Hopefully you got something, and I'll see you guys next time. So tell me bye, you guys. Bye.